Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Watches TV, where I watch all the TV shows and then I come over here and I react to them. And today I want to talk about Trainwreck PI Moms, a new hour-long documentary that came out, true crime documentary, that came out on Netflix, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's not the most recent Trainwreck documentary. I think it's the second most recent one. The last one is Storm Area 51, which I've already done my reaction to. And before that, I watched PI Moms, which was one of the newer Trainwreck documentaries. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, Netflix has put out this series of documentaries called Trainwreck. So there's like Trainwreck, Woodstock 99, Trainwreck Astro World, which I still have not watched and reacted to. Trainwreck Mayor of Mayhem, which I still have not watched and reacted to. Trainwreck Balloon Boy, Trainwreck Poop Cruise, Trainwreck. There's all these Trainwrecks. And I have really, really liked the majority of them. The last two that I watched, Storm Area 51, which I just covered a couple days ago, and PI Moms, were horrible. They were really, really bad. One of the things that's interesting to me about these Trainwreck documentaries is I'm kind of like, where do they find these stories? It's interesting because I've talked to a couple people about the difference, the Real Project X, which was about this birthday party in the Netherlands. I've talked to a couple people about these things that are more like that age group that would know about like Storm Area 51, and I even got some comments on the videos where people were like, oh, I remember this being on Facebook, and a couple people remember it, but a lot of these stories, like even when I was talking about Balloon Boy, like a lot of people that I talked to were like, I've never heard of that before, and these are supposedly like international news stories. I haven't heard of any of these stories. I feel like Balloon Boy, maybe vaguely. Poop Cruise, never heard of it. Poop Cruise is the best one, by the way. If you're going to watch one of them, watch Poop Cruise. So I think it was last week. This is the problem with me covering true crime, is that I typically do not take notes when I watch true crime documentaries because I just love it so much that I just sit down and I just devour it, right? And so like the other night I watched, what was it called? The other night I watched the Mr. and Mrs. Murder on Hulu, and I did my coverage of that yesterday. And then last night I started watching, what is this? I have it screenshot here. Hold on a second. I started watching Capturing Their Killer, The Girls in the High Bridge, which is about the Delphi murders. It's the newest documentary. Literally just came out 2 nights ago on Hulu. I will be doing my reaction to that tomorrow or Saturday. It is so well done. I have watched every documentary in the Delphi case. I live like literally an hour and 20 minutes from the bridge. Like from here to the bridge, I'm like an hour and 20 minutes. I have been obsessed with this case for a very, very long time. I've read the books about the Delphi case, the good ones and the ones that are not done so well, the bad ones. So I have 1 episode left of that, and then I'll be doing my reaction to that. But the problem is I don't typically take notes when I'm watching true crime because I just love to watch it and just get immersed in it. So I didn't take notes on the PI Moms one. So it's been a while. I mean, I've watched several shows and documentaries and 2 seasons of Broadchurch since I since I watched it. And I remember what it was about, okay? So it's about these women that were working for this private investigator, and then they were going to make, it was in the era of the Kardashians starting and all this kind of stuff, and so they were going to do this reality show called PI Moms, okay? And it was all built around this guy, I think his name was Chris Butler, that like ran the private investigation firm, and then I think it was in Seattle maybe, and then these moms that like as their part-time job, it was kind of like Charlie's Angels, but moms that were like taking their kids to school, okay? It was just a very bizarre concept, and so they got this TV show that never like happened because it was all this drama happened and it was fake and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, watching it, I was like, this documentary was not good. I was bored the whole way through. And I have to be honest with you, like the story is kind of weird and tragic and sad. So let me just real quick in here, I've got a couple things pulled up. Let me just really quick read you, hold on a second, some of the things about it. So you guys know a little bit. Oh my God, I had it all pulled up. Okay, hold on a second. So PI Moms, okay, here we go. PI Moms refers to a group of women who were part of a private investigation firm called Butler and Associates, led by Chris Butler, and were featured in a proposed Lifetime reality show. The show, titled PI Moms of San Francisco, not Seattle, was never aired due to the firm's owner, Chris Butler, being involved in illegal activities. A Netflix documentary series, Trainwreck PI Moms, explores the story of the firm and the failed reality show. And then Butler and Associates, a private investigation firm in San Francisco, employed a team of women who were also mothers. You never really see them. This is the thing that I was wanting to see what these moms were investigating. And other than like one cheating scandal, they don't really show the moms investigating anything, which was part of it. They didn't really have any cases. So they get this TV show about a group of moms, these PI moms, but they really aren't investigating any cases because this investigation firm was really a con for illicit drug dealing and other things. And so there was really no investigations going on. So there really should never have been some prompted TV show. I don't, to this day, after watching the documentary and hearing these women cry a river about how they never got their TV show, and I'll be honest with you, I often feel bad for people in true crime documentaries. These women, 20, 30 years later, are still crying a river, 20 years later, about how they didn't get their TV show and they were screwed out of their fortune and all this kind of stuff. What was the TV show going to be about? Them driving around in minivans following people? Because there was no investigations. That's why they had to concoct these stories. Like, they weren't really investigators. It didn't really make, I don't know. It's just like the story did not make sense to me. And then the sympathy card was really about these moms who I liked them. I liked the women. I thought it would be more interesting. I mean, the one woman, she shared this traumatic experience. I did feel bad for her, because she had never shared about this traumatic experience anymore, and she shared about it and was supposed to be on this show, and she had only shared it because it was going to be on this show, and then the show never aired, and so she felt like she had this unresolved stuff. But I mean, the women were nice. I liked the women. A lot of them were kind of like, yeah, and we never got our spotlight moment. I mean, I can understand like it kind of sucking a little bit, you know what I mean? But like all these years later, so anyway, So, Butler & Associates, a private investigation firm in San Francisco, employed a team of women who were also mothers. Chris Butler believed the mother's inherent qualities, patience, ability to blend in, etc., not misogynistic whatsoever, made them uniquely suited for private investigation work, particularly in undercover and surveillance roles. The proposed reality show, PI Moms of San Francisco, aimed to showcase the women's investigative work and their lives outside of work, which I think that part would have been really interesting. It was later revealed that Butler was involved in criminal activities, including dirty DUIs, scheme, and potentially other illicit activities, which led to the show's cancellation. Trainwreck's PI Moms, a Netflix documentary, examines the story of Butler, the PI Moms, and the failed reality show, featuring interviews with those involved. Now, there was this, so it goes on here, and what happened to Chris Butler on May 4th, 2012, nearly 2 years after telling crooks to write a story about him, Butler pleaded guilty to selling drugs, extortion, robbery, and planting illegal wiretaps, and was later sentenced to 8 years in prison. So that was really why the show never got canceled. But there was many reasons. One of the reasons was this guy, and his name was Marino. Something. Hold on a second. Marino. I've got it all pulled up here. I did have it pulled up here from the Hollywood Reporter. From the Hollywood Reporter. This guy in there. What is his name? Okay, well, let's just read a synopsis from the Hollywood Reporter real quick, okay? PI Moms was a train wreck for Lifetime. Now it's a train wreck on Netflix. The Hollywood Reporter tracked down filmmaker Phil Bowman to talk about the hit cable series that never was. And he is interviewed greatly in the documentary, the filmmaker. Lifetime, branded as television for women, is all about empowering women. Sometimes to kill their husbands, sure, but not always. Okay, it goes on. 15 years ago, Lifetime ordered a reality TV series about a private investigation agency staffed by soccer moms. In terms of synergy and branding, it was a no-brainer. In execution, it was a complete train wreck, which is maybe why they call it Trainwreck, is what it says. The Phil Bowman directed episode chronicles how you go from having a hit show and possibly a hit franchise on your hands to having handcuffs on your wrists. That's how it played out for the private investigators firm's owner and the PI Moms show's fourth lead, Chris Butler, who owned the firm. PI Moms needed a good pilot, but for some reason the moms' investigations keep falling apart. It wasn't bad luck or bad investigation. It was internal sabotage. The moms and Butler's colleague, Carl Marino, who had also been like a budding actor and been in TV shows. He wanted to be an actor. A wannabe actor looking for his big break, was so miffed to not be a main character on PI Moms. Important note, Carl is not a mom, that he blew up the show from within. Marino, also a private investigator, sent the moms and Lifetime's camera and budget on witch hunts designed to make the series stars look inferior to, well, himself. So what was about this guy, really, was that he worked for the firm, but he wanted, because he was this wannabe actor, he wanted the whole show to be around him. Basically, he came to the director and said, you need to make me part of the show. The director was like, this is about moms, it was basically kind of supposed to be like Charlie's Angels. Like Chris Butler was, Charlie, and the the soccer moms were the angels. They even say that in the documentary. So this Marino guy, Carl Marino, he really didn't fit into the show at all, okay? But he pissed off the director. So then he was like, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to F up this show on my own. So he did everything possible with giving tips to people, setting up fake investigations, making them basically all just look like a bunch of fools, okay? And really the women look like fools. But then ultimately what he was that this Chris Butler guy was like he was an informant to the police, but like selling drugs and trying to get this Carl Marino guy to sell drugs that he had gotten from this police informant or this police officer. So if I remember this correctly. So anyway, so Carl Marino, his partner, sets him up to the police just to F up the show. He has no moral high ground. He doesn't care about the good of the world. He just does it to F up the show because they won't put him on the show. So he works with the police and busting his boss, Chris Butler, on this drug deal, okay, that they're supposed to do. Where they're like, this drugs that have been like taken by the police are now, Chris Butler has them. And so he sets up this drug deal that then Chris Butler gets busted for, okay? Then the show gets canceled. They can't go on to it anymore. Lifetime's like, we're not doing this anymore. So then the moms are crying a river because they done lost their TV show where they're going to become the next Kardashians and Carrie Birkins all over the place while they're doing private investigations. What's funny is this is actually a show I probably would have watched. I would have been so into this show, okay? But then they're real upset about the fact that they didn't get their show. And Carl Marino, this guy, he goes on to do all these interviews and he becomes kind of the famous one out of it. And he ends up being on some TV show or something. I'm sure they talk about it on here. I don't know. But when that wasn't enough to tank the show, Marino dropped a dime on the only one shadier than himself, his employer Butler, the founder of Private Investigations. Let me skim through this. Butler had a crooked cop reselling drugs that he had seized into evidence by the police and tipped off reporter to the crime. PI Moms was canceled. The moms, Butler and Marino, suddenly found themselves each out of 2 jobs, and then it goes on this Q&A with him. I'm not going to read the Q&A because I'll be honest with you, I don't give a shit enough about this show. The show was bad, okay? The documentary was bad. In all honesty, like, I was watching it, like, in retrospect, like, I felt, at the time, like, I felt bad for these moms. Like, imagine you're getting this TV show, and you're so excited about it. Was it 2012 the show was supposed to come out? Okay, it was 2012? Let's go up here and see. Why is it not skinny? Come on. It won't let me. Okay, I think it's 2012. Hold on. What year did the show supposed to come out? It won't. Okay, I think it was 2012 the show was supposed to come out, right? So we're now, what is that? 12, 13 years later, and these women are still so bitter, okay? And I'm like, I think that maybe we need to, I don't know, therapy, maybe even just a session to kind of work through this. Like the woman that shared a real traumatic experience on there, I feel horrible for her, right? For having to share that personally and stuff like that. Or publicly with all these people. I mean, she was recorded for hours and whatever. But like the rest of them are still pissed that they didn't get their TV show. And I understand that. I mean, I'd be a little butthurt over it too. But at the same time, it's like, okay, life's gone on. Let's kind of like, you know, whatever. And I don't know, like when I was watching the show, it was like they were never really doing like, and it was all like 5 of them in like a minivan watching somebody like cheating with a spouse. And that was like really the only investigation they ever showed. So you really never got an idea of what the show would have been like. I mean, it'd show them like drinking, you know, margaritas in the backyard. I mean, was that what the show was going to be about? I don't know. This documentary missed the mark for me, okay? I didn't care about what happened to Carl Marino today. I think I looked it up, like, where is he at today? I don't remember what happened to him, and I don't care about the show, and I didn't care about the documentary. Trainwreck, you had some really, you started with Poop Cruise, and you ended with PI Moms. You failed. Anyway, I do like these Trainwreck documentaries because they talk about stuff that I don't know, but this one was so bad, you guys. This one was so boring and so bad. I was so over it. So this is not one that I can recommend to you. I wouldn't recommend Storm 51, and this is the worst one by far. This is absolutely the worst one. Anyway, let me know what you think about all, if you watched it in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.